Welcome to episode 1 of Wrestling with the Wife. Today, we're just going to introduce ourselves a little bit. We have Jason.
Hi, I'm not the wife.
He is not the wife. This is Jason, and he is the husband part of the show, I guess.
I guess.
I guess. And then I'm Shannon, and I'm that wife part of that. So Jason had this idea for a podcast. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, well, we kind of got into we both got back into wrestling around the same time a couple years ago, and the more and more we were watching, the more and more we were talking about it. And we've done podcasts before, and I kind of thought this would be a good one to do and share our interest together and do something like this.
How long have you been watching wrestling then?
Well, I started as a little kid in the 80s, so the whole WrestleMania 3 kind of on. I think WrestleMania 3 is the first one I really remember. And we are from Detroit area, so that was a big story, big deal around here since that's where it occurred. So watched then kind of pretty consistently up until right around the end of the Attitude Era. And that's when you and I were together kind of watching it. We both kind of trailed off around after the invasion with WCW ended up not being that great. We dipped back in it a little bit by going to WrestleMania 23 when it was in here in Detroit, and took my niece and nephew. But then you and I both got back into it, or I might have got back into it a little bit earlier when the network launched.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right.
A lot easier.
So much easier than paying $50 a month or plus for a pay-per-view. And that was the Daniel Bryan miracle on, I think it was WrestleMania 30. And kind of got back into it pretty hardcore, and it just kind of kept going and going and going and watching more and more. And that's kind of when you started, I believe, kind of getting back into it.
Yeah, I've watched wrestling my whole life too. My dad and I used to watch Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen and all that. I was a big fan of the British Bulldogs. And
cartoon characters.
Back in that era. Well, I was a kid, so
yeah, me too.
It made sense.
Yeah.
And then Macho Man and Hogan and Miss Elizabeth, that whole thing, I was really into that era. And then I kind of fell out of it, and then I got back into it. I think
a lot of people did right around that same time.
And then I got back into it when the whole Monday Night Wars were going on. Totally then it was watching 2 shows that night, flipping from commercials to commercials, going back and forth, trying to keep up on everything.
VHS.
Yeah, and then ECW was out at that time. I invited you over for pay-per-view, and that's how we started to kind of, because we went from chatting about wrestling at work and
being friends.
And being friends, and then things got romantic. So
that ECW,
yeah,
hardcore.
That Paul Heyman, he sets him up.
He's a matchmaker.
And then we both kind of fell out of it at the same time. Lost interest-ish, and then when the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania hit, you were like, let's have our nephew Zach come over. He brought a few buddies, and I swear I ruined their WrestleMania because they were so into Daniel Bryan, and I'm like, this guy, and I didn't get the appeal because I wasn't aware of the build-up, and then I was kind of after the fact, like the next day and the next few days, I started to get really bummed because I was like, I feel like I really missed out on something here, something really special. Yeah. And so you got the network. We started watching some old stuff, started keeping up on current stuff, made it a lot easier. And then last year we started getting into New Japan and Ring of Honor. And so now it's just crazy. About this time last year, we launched a podcast called Kipping Up with Wrestling with our nephew and his friend, Joey, who's become our friend, and that podcast is more about they're in their 20s, we're in our 40s, and it's this different dynamic. And so one problem is that I still want to keep podcasting a lot more regularly, but it's hard to get all 4 of us together weekly. And if it's just you and I, because like you and I can totally schedule with each other,
Yeah,
it's a lot
they're
easier.
dudes living their lives.
They're their 20s, so they're off like having plans and stuff and not parenting. And um so which is fine, and that's our main podcast, but on the off weeks, I feel like if we continue to do that podcast, just you and I, it's going to become our podcast, and it loses that dynamic because then
Hmm.
it's kind of like mom and dad's podcast, you know?
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
this
Well, I
is
feel it's everyone's equal on that one.
yeah. And so this is our one for doing like our couple stuff and just like when you and I have time and we're not able to get together with them, we're just doing this one instead. So cuz it's
Hmm.
going to be a totally different vibe
Yeah.
than that one because of just the nature of how you and I just chat. So
Conversation. Yeah.
yeah, so hopefully you like this show and give us a try, subscribe. We're on everywhere. Just go ahead and visit our website, wrestlingwithawife.com. All the social media links are there. You can follow us on Twitter at WrestlingWTWife because Twitter doesn't have enough characters. Everywhere
There's a lot
else,
of characters on there, though.
so many characters. Everywhere else, we're Wrestling with the Wife, like Facebook, Twitch, Reddit, YouTube, etc., etc. And you can follow us
Hmm.
on all that stuff and participate. We love chatting.
Hmm.
And you can email us at wrestlingwithawife@gmail.com. I think
Yep.
that's a wrap. That's a good intro, right?
Yeah, I think I'd just like to say that we're definitely, given our habits have evolved from being primarily WWE to kind of an even mix of WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
We're going to be discussing a lot of those too, Ring of Honor and New Japan, especially because they've been really killing it, I think. And we also will be going to All In, so we'll be able to talk about our build up to that and how that's happened.
So excited. That'll be fun to
Mhm.
follow that that planning process too for us on our
Yeah,
trip.
yeah.
Cool. All right, well, we'll see you next episode.
See ya.